The ancient church of San Pietro stood in silence, its stone walls weathered by centuries of history. The night had fallen, wrapping the village in an oppressive darkness. The only sound was the soft rustling of the leaves in the wind, as though nature itself held his breath. Father Luca, a priest in his early 50s, was alone in the church that evening. He had stayed late, as he often did, to pray and reflect. The village had become restless in recent weeks, strange rumors swirling about the old church and its dark past. But Luca had always dismissed such whispers, until tonight. As he knelt before the altar, the flickering candles cast long, dancing shadows across the room. The air was thick with the scent of incense and aged wood, and the faint echo of his prayers seemed to hang in the silence, as if the very walls were absorbing his words. But tonight, something felt wrong. A chill ran through his bones, creeping like a cold wind beneath his skin. The hair on the back of his neck stood up. He could feel it. Something was watching him. A sudden draft blew through the church, extinguishing several of the candles. The remaining light flickered violently, casting erratic shadows across the sacred space. Luca's heart quickened. He stood, looking around, his breath growing shallow. Then, from the far corner of the church, near the old confession booth, a sound echoed through the emptiness, a low, guttural growl. Luca froze, his blood running cold. He took a cautious step forward, his eyes scanning the darkness. There, in the dim light, he saw it, an outline, barely visible, standing near the confessional. His breath caught in his throat as the figure slowly stepped into the light. It was a man, or at least, it resembled one. His eyes were black pits, endless and hollow, and his face was pale, almost as if it had been drained of life itself. The figure was gaunt, skeletal, with dark veins running beneath his skin, like cracks in porcelain. And then came the voice, a deep, gravelly whisper that seemed to come from all directions at once. "Father Luca," it hissed, "you have awakened me." Luca's knees buckled beneath him as fear surged through him, but he couldn't move. He was paralyzed, caught in the cold gaze of the creature before him. The demon's lips twisted into a cruel smile. "You have defiled this place," the demon spoke again, its voice dripping with malice. "You thought your prayers could protect you. You, who've abandoned your vows and forgotten the true power of this church." Luca tried to speak, but his throat was dry, his voice lost in the air. The demon stepped closer, its form shifting and distorting, its body no longer bound by the laws of reality. It floated toward him, its feet never touching the ground, its mouth stretched into a grotesque grin. "You have forgotten the old rituals," the demon taunted, its breath cold and fetid. "Now, you will remember them." Luca felt a sudden pressure in his chest, like a weight had been placed upon him, crushing him from the inside out. His vision blurred, and he gasped for air, but no sound came. The demon's voice became clearer, louder, reverberating through his skull. "You will carry my curse, Father. You will never escape it. You are mine now, bound to this place for eternity." With that, the demon reached out, its clawed hand gripping Luca's wrist. The priest's body trembled uncontrollably, his heart pounding as if it would burst from his chest. His vision darkened, and he felt the presence of something ancient, something far older than the church itself, something that had been waiting for centuries to be unleashed. In the blink of an eye, the demon vanished, leaving Luca kneeling alone in the center of the church, gasping for breath. The candles had all gone out, and the church was once again plunged into an eerie darkness. The silence was thick, suffocating, but Luca could feel it now. The curse had taken root. He staggered to his feet, clutching the altar for support, his mind reeling. His skin felt cold, as though something was crawling beneath it. His heart raced, but his breath was shallow and uneven. He knew he would never be the same. The demon had marked him, and its power had seeped into his very soul. Every step he took felt heavier than the last, as though invisible chains were slowly tightening around him. He stumbled toward the church doors, but something stopped him. In the midst of his panic and despair, one thought cut through the darkness. One thought that had been buried in the back of his mind, buried by years of doubt. He fell to his knees again before the altar, tears streaming down his face. "Jesus Christ," he whispered, his voice raw with desperation. "Please save me." For a long moment, there was nothing. The church was still, as if holding its breath. The demon's presence loomed over him, suffocating him with its malice. But in the silence, Luca felt something shift. It was faint at first, just a whisper, like a breath against the back of his neck. But then it grew louder, a voice that filled every corner of the church. "Father Luca, you are not alone." The air around him began to stir, the coldness fading. The oppressive weight that had crushed him began to lift. Luca's body trembled, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was from the overwhelming presence of something divine, something pure. The shadow of the demon flickered, twisting, struggling to remain. It screeched in frustration, but the voice of Christ grew louder, stronger. "I am with you. You are free." Suddenly, light poured through the stained glass windows, bathing the church in a warm, radiant glow. The demon howled in agony as it was ripped from Luca's soul, its form unraveling, dissipating into the air like smoke. The oppressive cold disappeared, replaced by a peace Luca had never known before. He collapsed onto the floor, gasping for breath, but this time, it wasn't from terror. It was from relief. The curse had been broken. The church was silent once more, but this time, it was a silence of peace, not of dread. Luca stood, shakily, and crossed himself. He looked up at the altar, his heart filled with gratitude and awe. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice barely audible, but filled with an unshakable faith. "Thank you, Lord." And in the silence that followed, he knew he was no longer the same man. He was reborn, freed from the darkness that had once consumed him. The demon's curse was broken, and Father Luca, once a man of doubt, now stood in the light of Christ, stronger than ever,